Hi there, welcome to the Accidental Pop Star here on YouTube. My name is Ali Beg. If you're watching for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. If you are wondering what this channel is all about, just let me give you a quick refresher. So I was once in a boy band called Bad Boys Inc. in the early to mid-90s. We were signed to a label called A&M Records and we had relative success before we went our separate ways. So the concept is to speak to pop stars, both past and present, about their own experiences in the industry, and then I just compare and contrast my own story with theirs. For this brand new episode, I'm delighted to welcome to the show former Brother Beyond frontman Nathan Moore, who was a pin-up in the 1980s. He is now singing with Worlds Apart. I was absolutely delighted to get him on. His story is fascinating. How he coped with being a pin-up and all the fame that came with it. And then the difficult years once Brother Beyond went their separate ways. He's now in a really good place. And I really hope you enjoy his story. Welcome to the show, Nathan Moore. Hi Nathan, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here. I'm going to fire in with taking you right back to the early days of Brother Beyond. Can you talk me through the process which led to you becoming the lead singer of Brother Beyond?
Basically, I was in a band with my sister. We were a Hertfordshire-based band, kind of reggae. We were called the Palm Tree Club. My older sister, Tida, was kind of in the band. Then I'd taken to band practice. And one day they said, why don't you get up and sing with your sister? And we tried it out and they loved it. And they said, right, you're in the band. Anyway, so Palm Tree Club, fast forward, we did a couple of years of that. I was 17 at the time. And then one day I got approached. I did a London gig with the Palm Tree Club. And I got approached by this guy. He said, look, I'm working with a songwriter called Carl Fish. He's looking for a lead singer. We think you're great. We're not sure about your sister and the and the rest of the guys. Good fun, but, you know, would you be interested in hearing the songs? So it kind of went from there, really. And I heard their songs and I thought, oh, God, this could be really interesting. Yeah, and eventually I had to leave my band with my sister and, you know, transfer over to working with Brother Beyond. So that's kind of how it started. They spotted me and asked me to join.
Okay, let me fast forward a few months because when I was doing my research for the interview today, I had absolutely no idea about this auction to work with Stock, Aitken and Waterman. Can you just tell me, were you and were your bandmates comfortable with going through such a process, and what exactly was it?
Well, at the time, we've been signed to EMI Records. We'd had 4 records released with videos, etc. They'd spent a load of money. And basically, it was kind of like we were getting close to being dropped. And this thing happened without us being involved. But so basically, there was a music industry charity auction. And EMI bid £25,000, which went to charity. And the prize was Stock, Aitken and Waterman would write and produce a song for one of your artists, EMI, or whoever was the winning bid.
Okay.
And then they had discussions. And so just by chance, by luck, we'd been in the studio working with Ian Kerno, some other producers there. And we'd met Pete. We'd had a pint with him. They would have a traditional pint in the pub on a Friday, Mike, Matt and Pete. And we'd met them. We'd had a drink with them. And I think we stuck into his mind. And I think he said to EMI, what about this band Brother Beyond? Why don't we do a record for them for you, you know? So it was sort of, were we comfortable with it? We weren't really part of that process.
Okay.
We just happened to get, hey, look, this has happened. You know, Stock, Aitken and Waterman have offered to do a record with you because we bid £25,000 for charity for their services.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Did you see it as a potential turning point, given the fact that the records that you'd released before hadn't quite made it?
Oh, totally. I mean, they were writing the hits for Rick and
Yeah,
Kylie.
yeah.
I mean, in 1988, they were so hot. It was their like the apex of their powers. So yeah, I was like, wow, this is dropped out of the sky. Um, I just prayed and hoped the song was as good as I hoped. And I got a call one morning. I was in my flat in Islington, and they said, "Look, could you be on hold? We'll call you this afternoon and ask you to come over to our studio in Southeast London." So I waited by the phone, and yeah, I got a call about 3 o'clock. Could you come over? So I hopped on the tube. I went to the studios and met Mike and Matt. And Mike Stock coached me through the song.
Mm.
And a couple of hours later, I was out the studio heading home thinking, I think the song was pretty good.
Okay.
And you kind of don't know. It was a bit of a whirlwind. And then about 3 weeks later, I was called into EMI. All of us were. I mean, I was the only one from Brother Beyond in the studio.
Okay.
So that was the bit that was a little bit uncomfortable for Brother Beyond.
Yeah.
You know, the other guys were musicians and songwriters. And so it was a bit of at odds with, you know, they didn't feel totally comfortable with it all, but that's the way it was. When they played the song to all of us and all the executives in EMI, we just thought, wow, that's a hit song. And look, it gave us that moment. We could never be talking now if that moment hadn't have happened.
Sure.
You know, people of 1988 would not know Brother Beyond. They would just think, oh, didn't they have a few singles out, and wasn't Nathan in Smash It somewhere? And but no, thanks to Mike, Matt, and Pete, we have a song that I get to sing almost every weekend of my life still. So that was our lucky moment.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in just a moment. But again, let's just jump back a little bit because I'm interested to know if when you guys signed to EMI and you're now set off on this career path, did you guys ever get involved in decision making? Were you ever asked about what you were comfortable with? And if you did, or if you didn't, let's say more importantly, if you didn't, why didn't you?
No, we were asked. We had a lot of involvement in what we did, what we wore. It was a lot of it was us really.
Yeah.
And they just EMI were great, and they just sort of gave us the money and the leeway to make our own decisions and choose which video directors, etc. I mean, so we the mistakes that we made were our own, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
We did a follow-up record once. I mean, we already had the album.
Yeah.
Egg and Carl and David had written most of the songs. I mean, Egg White went on to write Leave Right Now for Will Young. He was very, very talented writer. Chasing Pavements, Adele, Warwick Avenue, Duffy. So when we recorded The Harder I Try, he said, guys, I'm leaving the band. So that's why we replaced Egg with the drummer, Steve Alexander.
Okay.
So, a lot of things happened that were, it's sort of our own making. And we did decide to do the follow-up with them, which was He Ain't No Competition. We put those on our album, Get Even. And that was just before Christmas. It sold 300,000 copies. So it was great. The mistake we made was not recording any follow-up material with them. Or I should have said, guys, I'm the one that recorded my vocals with these guys. Why don't I do a solo album? You guys can write the Brother Beyond follow-up. Those are the mistakes that that were made, really. And then hence, within a year, we were kind of over because the follow-up album just didn't resonate with people. It's like, oh, it's not like The Harder I Try or He Ain't No Competition.
Yeah.
And that's it. It can be over that quickly.
Yeah.
And that's when the real problems really set in for me.
Yeah, that's we'll digress about that a little bit later. But can I ask you about The Harder I Try? Because you get to number two, it settles at number two, which is absolutely phenomenal. Great hit record. So what I'm interested to know, Nathan, is your shift in emotion, because you've had all these records that haven't quite made it. Now all of a sudden you've got a number two. So how did you cope with that shift in emotion?
I was like dying to be a pop star. I
Yeah.
was dying to be on Top of the Pops. I envisaged it from when I was like 15. I remember watching Bower House on Top of the Pops and thinking, I'm going to do that one day. And I made it. I got there, and we ended up doing Top of the Pops 7 times. So for me, I was like happy as Larry, honestly. I love being a pop star. I love doing all the smash hits, photo shoots, and number one, and just 17, and all like that. That was my role in the band. They picked me to be the front man and the face, and I guess the pin up. So I was fulfilling my role. Um, so no, I mean, I was very happy. The problems arose when it all went wrong, and I hadn't earned enough money to cushion the blow,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I completely get that. When it came to, you talked about Top of the Pops. We were lucky enough to do Top of the Pops 4 times throughout our career. And what I always found was when we did certain television shows, there was a premeditated thinking behind how we needed to perform. So if I can give you an example, when we did the Des O'Connor show, I felt that our performance had to be a lot more mature. Whereas when we did Top of the Pops, I felt we had a little bit more of a freedom to be Bad Boys Inc. because I felt it was always two completely different audiences. When it came to the live TV shows that you guys did, was there any sort of premeditated thinking about the type of performance you were going to put on?
I know. I think it was slightly different for Brother Beyond because we were not a dancing choreographed band.
Yeah.
We'd always have drums and
Yeah.
guitar and keyboards. So it was what it was, really. I had more of those things happening when I was in Worlds Apart,
Yeah.
when we were more like Bad Boys Inc. We were doing choreographed moves. We'd have the shirts open and or the tops off, and some shows the record company over there would go, can we have you in nice suits this time? We don't want the shirts open, or and then some other shows would be like, oh, can we see some torso, please? And so more of that went on with my next band, Worlds Apart. But with Brother Beyond, no, it was kind of like I say, band setup. So it wasn't much anyone could do other than get it as best as possible.
Because now your level of fame and your profile, particularly your profile, Nathan, has skyrocketed. So when there's that shift in fame, did anybody from a record company or a PR agency, a journalist, anybody sit you down and say, right, this is what you are going to expect and this is how you have to deal with it?
And no, nobody said anything like that to me. There was no sort of guidance in that way. And, probably another mistake I made was that my girlfriend at the time was Amanda de Cadenet. And we just go out and, be photographed everywhere. And, the management did say to me, Nathan, you're the pin-up, and it would be great if you were appeared to be available, but you've got this very public girlfriend. And it's like, do you really have to? And I'm like, yeah, I have to. I'm going to do what I want. And so again, it was like the band were a bit, I think, frustrated with me in that, I was the visual focal point, the pin-up, a lot was riding on me. And there was me, gallivanting around town with Amanda, and they were like, "Oh God, is this press really any good?" And we were in the paper a lot at that time. We were always in the red tops, and the band were like, I mean, even the record company is like, we've invested so much money in this? God, do we really? Is this what we all really want? And so I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't listen to anybody then.
You see, I had a girlfriend at the time when I was in Bad Boys Inc. I was very, very fond of her, very fond of her. And there was absolutely no way that I was splitting up with her because of the band. What I'd like to ask you, Nathan, do you think it's a myth that just because a member of a boy band, or any band, who has a girlfriend, a wife, that record sales will be affected by that? I'm sorry, I personally think it's utter nonsense. I personally don't think that any fan would not buy a record just because a member's got a girlfriend. What do you think?
No, it's proven to me. In fact, now because I post lots of pictures of my family, my wife, and my kids, and the fans, the girls that follow me now, that come to loads of shows, they love seeing that family unit, and I think it's silly. Yes, if you're gallivanting around and seeing 12 different women or whatever, I don't think that. But they like the loyalty in the family unit and seeing the love there. Justin Bieber's married, and I think he has lots of female fans. I mean, the One Direction, the lead, who's the guy that's really successful from the band? He seems to be with partners all the time. I think it's a bit silly, but it was a thing at the time. I remember talking to Robbie Williams, and he used to get hell from Nigel Martin Smith about all that side of things, and told what he could and couldn't do. And Robbie said, I couldn't stand it. So there was a lot of that going on. I should have listened. I should have heeded their advice. But anyway,
how do you think you personally coped with fame?
I mean, when I left Brother Beyond, the fall was so big, and because I didn't have any money to cushion the blow, I did find it really difficult. I kind of thought I kept trying for solo material, and I was doing lots of TV jobs and trying here, there, and everywhere. And I felt really lost for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And I found it really tough. And I actually, the stress made me lose my hair. The whole of the back of my head was bald because I'd lost my hair. Really? And I had to I had to grow the hair long on top and wear a cap. And, the stress really got to me. But I'm a doer, and I keep going. And so I kept going. And again, my lucky moment came again when I walked past the management office of Worlds Apart, and the guy called me in. It's really crazy. And then 6 days later, I was performing in Mannerheim with them as their new lead singer. So in a way, sometimes you just have to keep going in life and power through the adversity.
Yeah.
That is one of my. I have got a lot of drive in that way, but wow, it's tough. It's really tough, and I wouldn't want my son to even venture into that world. I want him to get an ordinary job and work in life, because it's just it can be too much, I think.
Yeah, we're not far away from Worlds Apart, and I'd like to ask you about your family as well in just a moment. When Brother Beyond split, and you said you felt lost, but did you feel any sort of pressure? And I really hope you understand where I'm coming from with this question. Did you feel a pressure to remain a celebrity? And because of that, did you feel that you had to stay working within the celebrity show business industry?
Yeah, I did feel a need to kind of, I've got to still be in the limelight. I would like, I better go to that premiere or that opening and that, and get myself photographed. I've got a little shot in that magazine, to sort of stay relevant rather than disappear completely. So yeah, I would. I was always trying things, and I mean, it feels, and I guess it is quite a desperate, a desperate feeling, and it's not nice. But there is that, or there was that. That's what I was going through, and I was going to openings of envelopes just to kind of, I guess, stay what I thought to be a little bit relevant. But it doesn't really work. Eventually, eventually I had to just sort of, in the UK especially, just stop everything, leave it a decade or two, and then the phone starts ringing, and then you get called back to sing your song. And that's what I've learned over the years. And in the end, if you had a hit back then, eventually you will get called to come and sing it again. So I'm lucky enough to have that. But at the time, wow, nobody wants to hear you sing. So it really does screw with your head.
So where did the decision come from to step into music management?
That was after Worlds Apart.
Oh, really?
And that was around 2000, and I really thought, I'm done now. I've done Brother Beyond, I've done Worlds Apart, I've had, 2 bites of the cherry, great time. I'm not going to be George Michael, So Gary Wilson, who managed the band, said, well, why don't you come and co-manage some acts with me? So we ended up working with the boy band Fix, who were off Pop Stars, The Rivals. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed working with those guys and giving them up, and they were great. Hayley Everts, who was from Pop Idol as well, and then Lisa Scott Lee. We did the MTV show Totally Scott Lee, and I enjoyed it. But then I got to a point after a few years where I thought, you know what, though, I'm really yearning to be back on stage, and I'm standing side stage with artists thinking, well, I can do that better. And I thought, you can't keep thinking like that. Yeah. Are you a manager, or what are you?
Yeah.
In the end, I said, you know what, I'm kind of kidding everyone and myself. I want to be back on that stage. And then I got calls, can you come and sing The Harder I Try at this festival we've got? And I just thought, right, I'm going to give up management and go back into, performing.
Okay. So we've touched on Worlds Apart, but let's really get into that now. What was it about them that made you think this could work for me?
Well, I just thought, I'm being asked to be the lead singer. I can impart my knowledge. And when I stepped into the group, I thought, they're not working very hard. So I kind of took over a little bit and was pushing people to get more done. And I think I was just a bit more professional than all of them. So I think I invigorated them. And, Steve Hart especially, Steve was teaching me the dance routines. And then when we eventually started working, we'd be on the in the tour van. He'd start singing along to things, and I'd hear this voice and go, my God, he's got an amazing voice. And I would say to myself, why didn't they ask him to be the lead singer? And because he was so lazy at the time, he hadn't pushed himself or put himself forward. He'd just been happy to sort of dance in the background and play being a pop star. And so I pushed him to do more. And, now and then eventually we'd sort of be joint lead vocals on the records. And our most successful records came with me and Steve Hart being the lead vocalists on the music. So, okay. I definitely added my experience to the band.
Were the lads open to your suggestions?
Yeah, I think they took it on board and thought, yeah, you're right. We can do more. And once they did that, and we upped our game a bit, that's when we found our success in France, which was a different level to. We'd had some success in Germany, but then our success in France just went through the roof.
You see, with your experience, what I've always been interested to know about Worlds Apart is that obviously they were out around about the same time as us. Yeah. But what I found with them is that they seem to be chopping and changing members all the time. And I'm wondering if because of that, the industry didn't take them so seriously, particularly in the UK. So when you guys settled as a threesome, so yourself, Steve, and Carl, is that when you think Worlds Apart really started to settle as a band, and this is what started to drive your success?
Yes, what happened was when I joined, I mean, obviously previously there was like four members that had come and
Yeah,
gone, and
right.
but when I joined, it was Cal, Steve, myself, and Shalim Hanan,
Yeah,
uh, and that was the four. You know that we worked together for the next 18 months, and then we did this song called "Baby Come Back," and that's when the French got hold of that, and they said, "We think this is going to be a big hit," and they brought us over to France, and the four of us, were together really for 4 years, and that was when, the lineup was solid and consistent, and so the French didn't really know about all the goings on in the past, but I definitely think in terms of the UK, with all these comings and goings, the band were looked on in like, oh, they're a bit, what is this? It's not a serious group. It's
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't know what's going on there.
yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to all the other boy bands. There were so many in the UK at the time, and that's why we ended up, I guess, just focusing on Germany and France and continental Europe.
Did that ever worry you at all, Nathan, when you were, through the whole process of joining them, that did it ever enter your mind the worry about them potentially being deemed as not being overly serious?
Not really, because honestly, the day when I joined, the first show I did, I could not believe how successful they they were, because I the manager said, "Look, we've got this gig on an ice rink in Mannerheim in 5 days' time. So I want you to learn the dance routines with Steve Hart tomorrow." So we were in the studio for a couple of days doing that with Steve. Met the guys on the plane. We arrived at this ice rink. There were 7,000 girls screaming. Well, mainly for Erin, who was this guy I'd replaced. Big Erin poster. We love you, Erin. Because in those days, there was no time, no way to tell them that there was a new lead singer and that Erin had left the band. It was no way. This day and age, you can, in a second,
Yeah, yeah,
you can let the world know.
yeah.
So they were crying, like, "Where's Erin?" And Steve just said, "Hi, everybody. Here's our new lead singer, Nathan. Heaven must be missing an angel. Here we go." It was crazy, but I just couldn't. But I was like, wow, thousands of girls had turned up to see this band that were not very successful in the UK, but they were massive in Germany.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought, this is incredible. So, I wasn't, nothing worried me. But I did think, well, let's get our shit together and do this right,
Yeah.
because this has got potential.
Mate, you said you met them on the plane. Was that the first time that you met the lads? On the plane?
Shalim and Cal, that's Steve taught me the dance
Yeah,
routines in
get that.
London,
Yeah, get that.
but
You met the
Cal and
lads?
Shalim, I met them at the airport.
No way.
Yeah, because there was no way to get us together.
No
Um,
way.
so I had to learn the songs and the dance routines, and then I think we did 20 minutes in the hotel before we went to the venue.
No.
Well, yeah, that was how it had to happen.
Mate, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Hey, it's bonkers,
Yeah.
but the whole thing was bonkers. Honestly, 6 days before that, I was just walking the streets of London, not with a bean in my pocket, and didn't know what I was going to do. This is 1994.
Yeah.
Brother Beyond had split up in um, 1990.
Yeah.
So I was almost 4 years of like lost, trying this, that, and nothing working, and just but I kept going. I just kept going, and I just went to that office to see a guy called Clive Banks, who managed Simple Minds, and I played in my solo demo. That's when Gary Wilson saw me and dragged me into his office and said, "Forget that solo rubbish. I need a new lead singer." Sometimes, the luck just drops out the sky, and it's your moment. So,
Yeah. Personally, honestly, I'm delighted for Steve and for Carl because not that I've spoken to them for a long time, but Worlds Apart were very much around, as I said, at the same time as us, and we always got on very, very well with them. Did lots and lots of gigs with them, lots of photo shoots with them. So I was absolutely delighted to see that you guys all went on to have great success in Europe. Can I ask you about the industry, Nathan, and your thoughts about the industry now? What do you now quantify as success? Because if I can use the term back in our day, it was about chart position and record sales. What do you now quantify as success?
Do you know what? It's, Worlds Apart are looking at releasing some new music next year.
Brilliant.
But in fact, I'm at a loss to know how you do it because, of course, we know of the very visible people like, there's Taylor Swifts and Ed Sheerans.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you get a hit record? What designates a hit record these days? Is it the amount of streams you have? It's obviously not. There's no physical sales, or are there? I actually don't know. I don't know. All I'm aware of, like everyone else, who's the most visible stars? Harry Styles, and So yeah, releasing records. It's so different, the landscape now. So different.
So there must be a sort of a change in thought process with you guys now, right?
Yeah, I don't see records as making money, and you make all your money from live shows.
Yeah, agreed.
It's all about live shows. I want to release new music, and we are working on new music. We are writing. We are, looking for songs, and we found some stuff. We've already done some work in that way. So I want to release new music because I think you've got to push it forward. We've been singing now. Our first hit in France, "Baby Come Back," next year it will be the 30th anniversary, which is crazy. So, I love doing it, and I'm still doing the same dance routine as I did then. But I would like to present something new, and the fans that are still with us are asking for that. They're saying, "Please give us some new songs." So yeah, we're looking at that.
One last question for you: do you still get the same buzz from performing now as what you did 40 years ago?
I do get a big buzz. I do love it, but it is different when your success is brand new, and when the excitement around young fans coming to your concert and not being able to get near you, and you're not being available, because back then the only way to kind of see your or find out about your idol or whatever was the magazines or going to the concert. Now you can just quickly look at what Justin Bieber's up to, and so it was fever pitch, it was just crazy, and so that level of hysteria, it isn't quite there. It isn't like that. The fans are older anyway. We did a tour last year, and there was 5,000 every night there. But it is different. And it was crazy back then, absolutely crazy. So I'd love to be able to go in a time machine and just taste that once again. But obviously, I'm lucky enough to still be able to perform on stage, and so I feel blessed in that way. So yeah, it is different now, but we're still lucky enough to be able to do it.
Yeah. Nathan, mate, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me. I really appreciate it.
Buddy, it's good to chat with you. And anytime,
Magic. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Take good care of yourself.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Bye, fella. Bye-bye. Right, we are done. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the chat with Nathan. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you would please consider it. It won't cost you anything. All you do is get alerts for brand new interviews that will be coming your way very soon. Thank you for your continued support. So there we are. I really hope you enjoyed today's chat with Nathan Moore. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again very soon for a brand new episode with a brand new pop star here on The Accidental Pop Star. Bye for now.